Hey, very good afternoon, good morning. Hope you're doing well. All right then, folks, let's get stuck in. So we have two conflicting forces in play now. One, geopolitical risk with the US
Just making you aware, the latest post on Truth Social by US President Trump says the China deal is great.
we got the US pulling out key personnel from the Middle East in anticipation of a potential preemptive strike against Iran. We also have Iran having been reported to have violated the IAEA rules, and that's really ramping up the rhetoric. And I've just seen a headline from Iran's National Security Committee, who've just stated the option of exiting the treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons is on the table. Right, so things are increasing in terms of risk. And that's why we're seeing a typical risk-off flow, which is equity markets lower. We've seen a bit into bonds, gold racketing higher on that. The dollar is moving lower, and I'll explain why in a minute. That's the other driver. And you can see the Swiss franc and the yen, the strongest currencies of the session, right? So it's risk-off. And that's why there's also a dollar-yen sell bias in play at the moment after the data we've just had out. Now, the data we've just had was very, very weak for the jobs. And that's what's taking all the focus now. Remember yesterday, we had the CPI print, which was pretty benign, and that means the Fed is more likely to cut interest rates. So that supported equity markets. So we've seen a sudden uptick in equity markets just before the open, because this data is indicative of a slowing jobs market. Let's just take a look at it. You can see here.
Making you aware on geopolitics, according to Sky News Arabia, citing the Iranian president, in response to the decision of the governors of the IAEA, says we will continue enrichment and we will go on our way and not deviate from the current trend.
Right, so there's going to be trouble there between Iran, US, and Israel. So watch out for sudden risk-off trading just coming back. You can just tell these kind of headlines coming out from Iran. They're feeling in a combative spirit, and I think Trump will deal them a heavy blow. Certainly, I was listening to some analysis this morning. They were saying that when Israel retaliated to those hypersonic missiles that Iran sent into Israel during the Gaza conflict, the Israeli response was targeting Iranian air defense systems. So in other words, the response by Israel wasn't just a retaliation for the missile attack from Iran. It was preparation for another attack. So this has been ongoing. The fact that the US are pulling out personnel tells you that this is maybe a more considered move than just a quick, response. Look at this jobs. You see the jobs going up here. Do you see the way that's just spiking higher? And if you look at the calendar, you can see, look, it's come in above market's maximum expectations. So a weakness in the jobs market means the Fed is more likely to cut interest rates to support it. And with CPI falling lower, which we saw yesterday, that means the Fed has a little bit more capacity to cut rates. If interest rates are cut, that means business conditions are better. So that's lifting equity markets. So you see now, these are the twin forces on equity markets. Risk off on the Iranian geopolitical concern, equity markets up on weak US jobs and relatively benign CPI from yesterday. So this is the push and pull of the market that we're experiencing today. Other sad news is obviously the Boeing incident with Air India's Boeing flight from India to the UK, sadly crashing. Terrible incident there. And Boeing shares are down heavily pre-market. Where we got pre-market down here about 8%. Let's see how far they're down. Yeah, they're down about 5.5% at the moment. I did write an article on the impact of Boeing share prices after airline accidents. It's a very sad topic, obviously, but if it is a structural problem with Boeing, remember they've had some problems structurally with Boeing equipment, and if this turns out to be another manufacturing area, Boeing shares tend to fall out of the event for the next 15 days. Have a look at the research. You can have a look at that. This is the sort of thing that would lend itself to a sort of descending flag pattern. Other stock that's worth looking at is Oracle. They've got some really optimistic earnings just coming in. Yeah, it's growth prospects here for Oracle. Basically, the cloud revenue is up 27% year on year, and they're expecting that to grow for 2026. They see it growing to over 67 billion versus 65.4 billion expected. So Oracle share price is heavily up at the open. You can see here it's up about 6-7%. So that's the sort of thing. Could look at maybe Bollinger Bands with a breakout. That could be a good potential move. Let's see how that works out with Oracle. And also could be a flag pattern. So we'll have a look at that technically. That looks like that could have a bit of a run to it. And the guidance is good ongoing. So that's something to look at. Obviously, big overhead resistance up here. So could be a critical area that we're approaching. We're gonna have a look at that over the next sort of coming days. Remember that Casey's, that had another strong earnings and it had a nice flag pattern breakout there. Slightly rising volume. Pretty nice pattern there. Okay. I think that's it. Right. Yeah. So what we're looking at today is push and pull. Weak jobs, Fed cuts, equity upside, geopolitical risk. Oh no, Iran nuclear threat. Equity markets lower. So the delta is negative, picked up over the lot since the last jobs print. We've moved up on the hourly chart. Buyers trapping sellers down here into the confirmed value area high from last week, and sort of back into the developing value area low from this week. So heavy resistance that we've moved up into. We've hit the point of control, rejected. So cumulative delta negative. On the 15-minute chart, what do we got? Strong rejection of those higher prices, and delta is still negative, but has been rising. Okay, so I still prefer selling here. Okay, I'm looking for selling, and I'm looking for some buyers getting trapped, and then we're looking for a move back down lower, maybe back down to test these lows. That would not be unreasonable. And on the 5-minute chart, you can just see, okay, we're just faffing around with this area. Price moved up, hit a value area target, and is now consolidating underneath these lows. Just trying to think of anything else. Oil, just worth keeping an eye on oil. We've had lots of push and pull action going on in oil. Normally, if Iran is going to be off grid, then you expect oil markets to rise. They've been falling at the moment, so just keep an eye on oil in case we see things escalate. You could see a nice run higher in oil, definitely worth looking at. Oh, good morning, Brian. Very good to see you. Okay, folks, that is the rundown for now. Remember, there will be some chatter about that jobs data. It will start getting attention. Remember, the Fed has a dual mandate, and their dual mandate is stable prices, maximum employment. So once they're convinced that stable prices are ahead, in other words, once they're convinced that inflation is falling, then they can focus on their second mandate, which is maximum employment. The latest CPI print says that inflation is benign, and we have PPI out today as well, which says inflation is relatively benign. Yes, there were some previous revisions higher, but broadly speaking, the headline is taking the focus. So this means the Fed has to cut rates, if you like, and this means the Fed can cut rates. Low inflation gives them the permission to cut interest rates. Okay. That is all for now, folks. We've got the open at 15 minutes. That'll be crucial to see what happens there. For now, just going to leave what we've got and come back in a few moments for the open. Take care, folks. I'll see you in a bit. Just going to make myself a cup of tea and then we'll get ready for the session. Okay, now buyers coming in. Delta turning positive. Interesting to see if buyers get trapped up here. That could be interesting. I can't see the changes, Brian. 9 to 11 EST. Okay, interesting here. Right, Delta now positive. 1 minute guys trying to come in, trying to trap these sellers. Failing. These buyers having got trapped. Well, that looks like it wants to keep going lower, doesn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah. But a little bit of divergence going on. So price making lower lows, Delta making higher lows. Right. I do like that. I like that for a buy, actually. I do like that for a buy because you got this nice kind of support level here. And you see the absorption going on with the price going. See price making lower lows, but the delta, right, making higher lows. So that absorption. Yeah, no, that's all right, Brian. The important thing is there's no mistake there. I appreciate you flagging it up because it's annoying when there is a mistake and I'm not aware of what's going on. Okay, so you've got the absorption going on, price making lower lows, delta making higher lows. So I favor buying now, right? Because we just sat in this area here and I can run my stops just underneath the, that area. Let's see. Wouldn't be surprised to see buyers stepping in immediately here. Yeah. You see buyers taking up those lower prices. Delta is positive.
Just an update on the US fiscal front. According to Punchbowl, the House will vote at 3 p.m. today. And so they are scheduled to vote on the rescissions of packages.
That absorption carrying on. So I do favor buyers coming in here. You can see buyers trying to build here. I'm going to take one position off there.
And more from the Iranian president. It says even if Iran's nuclear facilities are destroyed by bombs, it says we will rebuild them again, according to state media.
Right, okay, that's nice. Nice absorption going on there. Just making sure I've got. Let's just try and make sure we're clear here. Yeah, so it's definitely going into this area here. So I want to just see what I can get out of this, if anything. So I'm just going to trail that up. I'm not interested.
Economic commentary from Goldman Sachs. They cut their 12-month US recession probability to 30% from 35%.
I'm just moving that stop underneath that second standard deviation just to see. So, thing is, let's see how far we go. Right, price moving up. Right, I'm going to trail it under the 1 minute chart. Difficult just to smash through this area, but let's see. Right, I'm out there at break even. Obvious target area, see there, so let's get. Okay. Okay, so both those profit. That was a nice straightforward trade, really. See that divergence going on. Price making lower lows, delta making higher lows, and we're in that nice support area here. So as price moved down to that area, that was just nice and straightforward.